Horizon Hobby released their PA-20 Pacer ARF in 2013, and it's still available for sale today. And while it's a beautiful airplane the way it is right out of the box, that's not exactly what we did with it. On today's episode of Model Aviator, we'll show you how we took one of those and turned it into one of these. Piper Aircraft Corporation started production of the PA-20 Pacer in 1950, and it produced it until 1954. They made 1,120 examples of that. Also in 1950, they started production of the PA-22 Tri-Pacer. The Tri-Pacer enjoyed a 10-year longer production run from 1950 to 1964, and they made 9,490 of those. Now, there's a very good reason that the Tri-Pacer was much more popular than the conventional geared Pacer, and that is the tricycle gear enabled general aviation pilots to be able to see over the nose better, and it made the ground handling much easier to deal with, and that, just the ground handling, is why it outsold the Pacer by leaps and bounds. Now, our inspiration for this is my brother-in-law, Randy. Randy has been an aviator for quite some time. His first airplane was a Pacer. When he sold that, he got out of aviation for medical reasons for quite some time. He was able, several years ago, to get his medical back, and he immediately bought another Pacer. And of course, it looked like this. This is Randy's Pacer. When he sent me pictures of this thing, I just could not believe how pretty it was. I'd never seen the turquoise and white paint scheme on a Pacer before, and I knew I wanted to build it. So I considered a couple of things. Pat Triddle makes plans for a really good kit about this size. I knew that I wanted to do something part flyer size, but then I remembered the E-Flite Pacer, and I thought, man, how cool would it be to recover that thing, do some modeling, really do it up well, and try to make a really cool Tri-Pacer out of it. So that's exactly what we did. And now we're going to show you how we did it. And it starts with my buddy Shane Pitts. Now I can cover. I've built kits, I've covered them, but I do really simple stuff. The stuff I've covered that I felt like I covered well was things like SIG Cadets, ugly sticks, stuff like that back in the day. I am nowhere near this good, all these complex curves and things like that. So I got my buddy Shane Pitts, and here's Shane with the airplane after we completed it. Shane actually took the ARF out of the box before we did anything, stripped it down and recovered it, and then he got it back to me, and I did all of the modeling part once he recovered the airplane. So now we're going to take a look underneath the cowling and show you how we did it. This is a 3200 3-cell. Back when I used Dean's connectors, and this is just a little rudimentary simple battery tray. There's Velcro on the tray and the pack, and then we put one strap around it. This is thickened up here because this is the part that we Velcro and hold down in the airplane. And we made this tray so we actually slide the battery in, and right there it gets snug. I'm going to push it until it stops, and we just very simply Velcro the end of this tongue on the tray down. That's held down there. Right here you can see where the end of the battery has come. This is a piece of ply and some triangle stock we put underneath the motor box, and of course we put a little piece here on top. That cups the battery on the end. It's very snug. That's the part that holds the battery on the end, and then we hold it with the Velcro on the tongue on the other end, and that way we get that battery really far forward. It helps us balance the airplane. And under the hood here we've got our E-Flite 480. This airplane called for a power 10. We used a 480 because it's what we had, and we knew that we wouldn't need a huge prop. We couldn't get a big prop on this thing because of the clearance turning it into a tricycle gear, so there was really no benefit of the bigger motor, and since we had one of these we just used that. We used a separate 9-gram servo for the nose wheel steering. This is a Robart strut that we actually picked up at a swap meet. This is about a $35 strut. We got it for $5, new in the package. And of course we reinforced both sides and the bottom of the motor box with light ply. This is birchwood ply. Here we added this piece to bolt our nose wheel strut holder on. Normally these things, there's two of these and a space in the center. We didn't have room for that, so we just used one, and the way we land this airplane, and as light as the plane is, that is enough. It's actually very, very sturdy. Here you can see how far forward the battery is. We actually wish I had brought this a little farther forward. If I had, we might not need the extra ½ ounce of weight that we've got there. But the airplane balances well, flies really, really good. And all these mods, since you use light ply, triangle stock, and epoxy, it's very, very strong, and this held up well. We've got about 100 flights on this airplane like you see it, and it's working great. On our cowling, we just simply painted the cowling. The Tri-Pacer decals, all the decals really, are from Cali Graphics. And one of the harder parts, what you see a lot of people miss when they do a Tri-Pacer out of one of these things, is the Tri-Pacer cowling has this little piece. Now you see this is cracking. That's because we made it out of this hobby foam. This stuff is super, super light, easy to carve, but doesn't hold paint very well. I'm going to end up having to take that off and do it out of balsa eventually, but that's how we did the cowling for now. My sister Lynn is a pretty redhead, which is why we used a redheaded Barbie as our passenger in the Tri-Pacer. Now, brother-in-law Randy's a rather rugged-looking manly man, but I just couldn't help myself from putting this Ricky Martin-looking Ken doll in there just to mess with him. Randy doesn't think I'm anywhere near as funny as I think I am. Overall, we're really happy with the way the Tri-Pacer came out. We really enjoy flying it. It's such a good flying plane. And that said, about the only thing left to do is show you how it flies. So let's get to it. The first bit of flight footage we have for you is a short flight in its entirety early in the morning, one morning when the fog was crazy thick. So the mission, for lack of any other options, was to keep this thing low and slow and out of the fog, so that's what we did. Camera blurred on us there, so we edited a few seconds out. This is a bit later in the morning and the fog had burned off enough to get a little altitude and do a little more. I really like to fly the Tri-Pacer as scale as I possibly can. I'm going to do some aerobatics in this flight, but I try to keep it scale. Now, to be honest, I've never seen footage of a full-scale Tri-Pacer doing aerobatics, but I suppose if a J3 can do them, or a Super Cub, and we've all seen aerobatics done in those, that as long as you keep the G at 3 or below and you have the training and the inclination, technically, you could do the things you're going to see me do with the model in a full-scale Tri-Pacer. Projects like these are really rewarding. It doesn't matter how little or how much you change something from stock, if you will. Anytime you personalize something and make it your own, there's just something cool about that. We hope you enjoyed the Tri-Pacer episode. Please hit that thumbs up button. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of what we're doing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. That really helps the channel. We appreciate all our loyal subscribers, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. Happy flying, and tune in next week. We're going to have something a few of you have asked for.